Joystick, the Joystick Show. Up, down, left, right, B, select. Start.
Welcome, gamers, to our Twisted Reality. All your favorites from the 80s to today.
Joystick, the Joystick Show.
All right, we are recording, right? We're hot. The mic. Is it hot?
Yep.
Okay, it's red hot, actually, the mic is. We are the Joystick Show, coming back at you, and this is episode 134A. It's all going to be in DJ talk. Coming back at you today. Why? Because we're talking about all the things from the 80s, 90s, 2000, and today with gaming. We got all these lists. You know how much I hate the top 10 list stuff?
Yeah.
It was nothing as far as news except all these lists of stuff. So I'm like, all right, we'll start talking about it. Plus, a lot of folks in the Rumble Pack out there will probably remember a lot of that if you're getting long in the tooth like me. If not, you'll be like, oh, I remember Dad talking about that. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about here. We are the Joystick Show. We are a father and son combo talking video games from a generational point of view. If you're first time checking us out and you're listening, you're automatically anointed as the Rumble Pack. And of course, if you want to know about that, I think we talked about that a few shows back, right? If you're catching up on some shows. We appreciate you listening each and every month when we pop the mic here on it. We crack the mic for you, playing the best hits of video game reviews. Right. All right, so how do they get a hold of us if they want to join as the first time listening, have some questions, comments, or sarcastic remarks? Where do they go?
You can go to our Gmail at joystickshow@gmail.com, our website joystickshow.com, or our Twitter at joystick_show. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so let's get started on what we're doing here. Before we do, we have our sponsors, right? This pays for the show. That's how we're making our millions doing this show. It is, sponsor this time is Nerd Nightlife, the social app that lets you connect with other like-minded folks within the geekdom. Pick from categories of interest including joystick manipulation, button banging, and console caressing activities. Find your one night at Freddy's playtime by signing up today. Visit nerdnightlife.web for a free night trial. Nerd Nightlife, where you can get your game on. Boy, we have to start talking about what kind of networks we're using to get these sponsors lately. It's getting pretty bad, pretty down and dirty. I don't know if I can have that on a family show.
It's whatever they're paying. If they're paying enough, we do it.
That's right. That's what. No, we can't say that anymore, can we? Yeah, we can. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the gaming front. The gaming front is what we're playing, what we're doing. If there's anything that's hot or happening. So what's up with you? What's going on?
I have been. I guess the newest thing. I've been playing much, but what I did manage to get back to was Borderlands 3. And I've talked about this on the show before, because I like played it a little bit, but I never got super far. I never finished the campaign, and I never got into the things that you can do afterwards. But I've been playing with some friends, and we managed to finish the campaign, and now we're doing kind of like end game dungeon things. And so Borderlands 3, real quick, is like if you ever played Destiny, it's like that, but in my opinion, better.
Why so?
I think I like the art style way more. I like the...
It's more comic, right? If it was, at least was the original Borderlands.
Yeah, no, it's very...
2000s.
Well, that's the biggest thing about Borderlands 3 that sucks is the story. Like, the campaign in Borderlands 3 was terrible.
Really?
I honestly enjoyed it enough to, like, you know, be able to get through it, but it just wasn't anything, like, good.
Yeah.
And so, once you get through it, though, I have had a lot of fun doing the endgame dungeons that they have. They call them takedowns. And basically what you do is you set a mayhem slider. So you basically set the difficulty. The higher you set your difficulty.
The mayhem slider. I like it.
From 0 to 10.
Right.
Or 11, technically. The higher you set it, the harder everything is, but the better loot you get from the dungeon.
Yeah.
So it's been fun messing with different skill tree builds and different guns to try and beat the dungeons that are actually really hard.
Yeah.
And then the whole loot system in that game is really good. I like it better than Destiny, I think.
Nice.
And so it's just kind of fun once you complete the campaign. So I've been going back to that and playing that. And yeah.
Nice.
Pretty much it.
Cool. Well, you might have just heard it. There's a lot of noise at the beginning. There isn't now. We got an AC unit running here down in the Texas area where it's like 101 for ages and days.
Yeah.
So if later on, if we just pass out in the middle of the show, you'll know why. That's what's happening on it. So yeah, as far as playing, as we started talking about, just playing the normal stuff that I normally have been with the Gloomhaven Online and so forth. But what I did do, though, is I picked up a 3D printer. I know this is not a video game review on the printers. There's plenty of things for that. But I want to know from the Rumble Pack, is there cool 3D things I can make, right? Files for like joysticks or for like consoles or something cool, right? That you use or you know of that's out there. Send us an email, let me know, because I want to print it up and try it. And I want to talk about it because that'd be fun to do it. I know there's like Thingiverse, there's all these type of sites out there to have it. But if you have something you've used and you love, let us know. I'd love to check it out. So, by the way, I was reading on something where they were talking about obviously the top whatever games, but it says of most anticipated games, right, in history, right? And they brought up all these things like Smash Mouth Bros. And all this type of stuff. And I want to know from you in your generational world what was the most anticipated game that you feel over the course of time since you've been playing. What is the game that stood out the most for you?
I don't know. I think probably for me, personally, not for like my generation, but just for me personally, is probably Dying Light 2. Okay. Dying Light 2, I was like, just waited 2.5 years for that to come out. So for me, it'd probably be that, but I don't know. I know Cyberpunk was a big one. I don't know. Which just totally sucked when it first came out. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say Dying Light 2 is it for me.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Well, it's funny because when they were saying Smash Bros, right, you're thinking...
Smash Bros,
Smash Bros. On it, and to me, like I said, I just surprised when it said because the title was of all time, right? And to me, from being in the thick of it during the revolution of video games, when the Xbox came out, when things were just taking off, right? People were coming out of the closet gamers and doing everything. Without a doubt, Halo 2. Halo 2 was, I mean, I was doing the show back then, and I stood in line, right, going out and around the corner of it was like a concert. And I was doing interviews. I think I have the show somewhere. I should go back for retro it. Listen to people just excited about camping out overnight for a game. Who camps out for a game nowadays, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously they're sitting at the house waiting for it to download. But to me, the out of all time game was Halo 2. Hands down. I'm surprised it didn't come up as number one.
Yeah. Yeah. I played Halo 2. I never was excited for its release, but...
What do you mean? You're in diapers. What did I even bring you with you?
I know.
When was it? I think it was like 06, 07 maybe? 2009. Maybe 2009.
No, it had to have been earlier than that.
Look it up. Yeah. And so anyways, I was surprised when I was looking at it that I was just curious. But for you, like I said, for the more modern day, I was wondering what stood out as the game waiting to drop on it. For sure. All right, so let's just keep that rolling. We're going to jump into the news.
The Joystick News Report. Joystick News.
All right, so we talked about the news. Really, it was just everybody because there wasn't a lot going on. So a lot of people have started talking about different top 10 lists. They all come up with, whenever you can tell when it's ever a down time for news because then people are trying to just fill with content, kind of like maybe what we're doing right now. But the piece of it was, when we went through it, was what were the top 10 games, retro games of the 80s, right? So it went through and started discussing this. So this is on my generation, but you'll know some of these, right? Yeah. So from on the top 20, there's some, believe it or not, I didn't even remember on it, which is crazy, but they're from early 80s, right? So there's a game called Gyruss, Gyruss, 1988. Never heard of it. No idea. But I do remember in 1982, Tron came out. So do you remember the movie? I made you watch it as a kid. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I remember. Well, okay. I don't remember all of it. I just remember watching it.
Yeah, it still withstands the test of time today, and that was 1980, whatever that was, came out.
The game?
Right. Yeah. So it was one of the earliest games. There was Adventure, was another game. So Missile Command, 1980. Missile Command, that was a game where you actually all these like little rays came shooting out of the sky, and you had to put your little cursor over it and press a button, and it shot a missile at it. Right,
Yeah.
kind of like the early days. It was the Patriot missile set up before that was even a thing. Right, on it as well. Another one that was out there was Outrun. That was a game that was a race game, one of the original car driving games that was out there. And that was in '86. Pitfall, hands down, I thought that would be number one. I mean, Pitfall to me was one of the most anticipated or the best games for Atari that came out. So you remember Atari, I told you about that, 2600, that's where well, we'll get to that, obviously. But Pitfall, to me, was my favorite Atari game that came out. That made the list in the 80s. That was 1982. And the funny thing is, a lot of these games were really early 80s, not late 80s, right? Which tells you it was like a revolution in that first part of the 80s that was a part of. Galaga, which was in 81, that was a big arcade game, right? That came out. Castlevania, believe it or not, that name is today a huge game, right? People are playing it, different Castlevania games and stuff. Well, it started in 86.
Yeah.
Right?
Dang.
Do you know any of these so far? Do you remember them?
I don't remember them, but I know them. I don't know. I know some of them.
Like Contra. Do you remember Contra?
No.
So Contra, at the beginning of this show, up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, B, A, select, start. That was the code you put in to go from 3 players to 30 players. So it made it so you could actually finish the game, because that was one of the hardest games ever. And there's going to be people, Rumble Pack, going, dude, I did it with 1. I never died. Yeah, that means you had a lot of time on your hands, and you were the gamer geek back in the day. So that's Contra. That came out in 87. Dunk Hunt, that was that game came out with the Nintendo. The first Nintendo.
Yeah.
You get what was the other one? It was Duck Hunt, and it was like this cool gun game that you shot. Well, Duck Hunt was with the gun too, but you would it would close and open with like criminals, and then close and go down. So it's like a shooting gallery type of thing. Really cool. Early game, big one. Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That game was the ultimate arcade game for a while. I mean, you showed up. I dropped more coin in that bad boy, right?
Yeah.
That was 1987. Spy Hunter, the best game. That actually was the first time you ever had a vehicle driving, right? And you could do oil slicks. You could get missiles. You could get all sorts of things. Then if you made it far enough, you changed from a car to a boat. And that was huge, how it transformed.
Yeah.
And then from a boat to helicopters, it was just friggin' fabulous. Dropped too much money in that. Matter of fact, I'd be paying for your college 10 times over if I didn't put that money in these games. So don't be jealous of them.
Yeah.
Don't be jealous. What else? Have you familiar with Spy Hunter? Have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Mega Man 2, that was a game I didn't play, but everybody was loving it. I know. It's just something I never got into. Miss Pac-Man, obviously. Metroid, big game. Donkey Kong, 1981. That was the most anticipated, probably Atari game, not Pitfall. When Donkey Kong...
They, advertised it? Or
yeah, they had it out pretty early. I remember going to, Walmart and paid $32 for the game. And it had it in this little shelf. And, my gosh, you reached in. It was in these gray cases with a little design on it. I remember being like, oh, my God, this is like Christmas. Right? I think it came out in, July or something. It was awesome. Then The Legend of Zelda, big game. Zelda, everything that goes on today... started with that game in 86.
Yep.
Awesome game. Matter of fact, go back and try it. You'll actually like it, even though the graphics are brutal. Pac-Man, 1980, of course. Tetris, which is a game I cannot play because it's claustrophobic. It was just brutal. But great game. Great game across the board. And then the number one, Super Mario Brothers, 1985.
Yeah.
That was the one that made it all happen. So... interesting, on the list of the 80s games, those that are a little longer in the tooth like me remember all. You probably remember, how many of those games do you actually can associate with or know or played?
Probably half of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Sometime what, on a recreator, what are they called again?
Remaster?
Yeah, well, when you go in, you can dive in and play old games on a new system.
Oh, emulator.
Emulator.
I haven't,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So... anyways, pretty cool stuff. So that's the top 10 from the 80s, right? And I saw that as it came up. So here's my next thing when it came up. The top 10 worst controllers of all times. Okay, so I can tell you right now, the worst controller at one point to me was the big old Xbox, big fat ones when they first came out. But the reason is that your hands, nobody's hands could fit around them, right? My hands could barely.
Yeah.
but it was a bit. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I remember. I would always want the smaller one to play with, not the big one. Yeah.
Right, because your hand size, right?
Yeah.
Well, the ones they show here, and I actually thought this was pretty cool, not the worst, was they had this one they show which is basically designed as a chainsaw with all the buttons and everything else on it. I thought that was pretty cool. So the Atari had just obviously our logo represents the Atari joystick, right? It's just a stick and a button. Well, when they came back with the 5200, do you remember what it looked like?
No.
It actually had the same controller, but it was like a little bit shorter and like fatter, and it didn't work as well. And then it had a keypad, and they did the keypad on it because of the Intellivision that came out that kind of was beaten on it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
To do that, and then so that one controller was a little bulky.
So it controlled the actual TV and the
game, right? But when you punched in numbers for codes, it was a way to kind of bring up like your mod. In today's world, if you did a mod. Right, you would insert it programmatically. Now you just typed in a number and it kind of added it to it. Right, so that's how they kind of worked it into the system with that. But the weird because the buttons were on the side of it. It was the Atari 5200 where I could see that being an issue. I don't know. A lot of stuff when they started showing them were all kind of like one-off, crappy type of looking controllers. Right, there's a Dragon Quest Slim controller. It was Resident Evil 4 was the chainsaw controller. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
I'd
that'd
play
be
it.
hard to use though.
Right, as far as like holding on to it, I think was the problem on it. Then Atari again came out with this system called the Jaguar, and it didn't last long at all. And the worst part is it took those big fat controllers of the Xbox, right? This was like the first fat controller that was out there, and it was brutal to hold on to, especially if you're a little kiddo trying to play. But it had like a bunch of buttons on it and stuff like that too. So, what else? Do you remember one? Any of them that you remember like playing or just like, I don't know if to control.
I was never a fan of I forget what it's called, or I forget what console it went to. It might have been the GameCube, but it was like the controller that looked like a normal controller, but then it had a long bottom to it. It had a long like you'd have the it was like three-legged almost. Like it had the handles that went out to side, and then there was a long thing
I think
in the
that was the Super Nintendo.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That's
what
it was.
The long one in the middle.
Yes, you hold on to the sides in the middle. Yes.
Yeah, and it had. Yeah,
I'm almost positive that was called the Super Nintendo.
We never owned that one, but
right.
I remember that I would see it over at like a friend's house, and I did not like it. It might have been the GameCube.
Are you sure? Right. GameCube? I don't know. I can check on it, but no, it was something like that. The controller, GameCube. Yep. Wait. No, that's different.
Wasn't the GameCube.
So, anyways, I know the one you're talking about because it was more looking like a fork, like three things, right?
Yeah.
I remember. I'll have to figure out which one that is. But yeah, so that was pretty brutal. Over the years. Let's see if it comes up, because now I'm totally into figuring that one out on it too. So, but yeah. So, anyways, as you start looking at all these things, you're like, man. I mean, even like the Xbox, how it started really thick, right? And then right there, that's it, right here, the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one it is, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, that was brutal for sure, because you couldn't really like. What do you do with the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
The middle one.
Yeah.
It really didn't even give you an idea. There it is, right there. What is that? It is the.
It was
Nintendo.
It was a Nintendo controller. It just I don't.
Yeah, I thought it was the Super Nintendo, but maybe 64.
Nintendo 64 maybe.
Right.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds. I knew it was Nintendo, but.
Yeah, but I don't know. I hated that one specifically. I and then of course the big original Xbox ones.
Yeah.
But that's about it. All the other ones have been really good.
Yeah, been pretty good on it. I mean, there's been some unique ones like gloves and stuff out there. I mean, a lot of people consider the Kinect, you know what I mean, a player, but I don't know if I would go that deep. But I know there was one back in the day. It was called U-Force, and what it was one of the original infrared things. So you know how like with the Wii, the new Wii, what was it, Wii U? How you had the thing on the ground you could put for like golf. When you're hitting it or whatever, it used your the distance, your motion from the ground. Do you remember that like accessory that was on there?
Maybe.
Or no? Well, anyways, this one what you did is you had your hand between two red infrareds, one that's facing you, right, vertical, and one that was horizontal. And if you moved your hand or did something with your hand, it did something on the console. It never worked.
Yeah,
it was horrible. So that was the thing, was they were trying to make the early virtual reality, if you will. It was called U-Force was the name. I think it was back in like the early '90s is when it was. But kind of cool how that you start retroing back, going, oh my god, there's so many like people trying to create the next cool thing. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, that was the consoles. The last thing I wanted to mention, I know we're going to talk about new releases and everything, but I thought because it was a slow month, that we're in August now, right, on it?
Yeah.
And they have 4 games that's confirmed for August. It might be out by the time you get this, but I wanted to get your read on it because they're new games. Are you familiar with any of them? Celeste, is it?
Celeste is like a fun platformer. I know that.
And then there's Everspace. Are you familiar with that one at all?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, Celeste is out now. Everspace 2, it actually is coming out August 15th. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we just showed that that controller of the chainsaw, is coming out on August 18th. And then the Sea of Stars on August 29th. Are you familiar with any of those?
I'm not.
Okay.
I do know in September, Starfield comes out in the Game Pass off release, so that's a good reason to have Game Pass in September.
Yeah.
If you plan on playing Starfield.
Yeah.
And
Starfield. Oh, and it was called Star Citizen. Remember the last show?
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out the name of that one locally here that those guys build. That's what it's called. That's like an in-depth game.
That one's still in development though. Super buggy. I tried it.
What? Star Citizen?
Yeah, I talked about it on the show. But...
Yeah, I know, but yeah, that was the name of it though. So, anyways, that was so the ones that are coming out in August. And last I did hear on the news that I know Baldur's Gate fans, they were talking about waiting for that next release that's coming out, and they said they're going to actually be delayed. It could be a longer wait. So I don't know if they have some stuff going on. That's going to be an issue.
I think it's the servers are going to be bad. So on launch day, when you go to play it, you might have a wait. Oh,
to get on and do that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of stinks. I know that's a big one too. So, anyways, those are what's coming up, and that's pretty much the news. That's the news.
This concludes your Joystick News Report.
Joystick News. All right. What else? Okay. So, let's jump into this because I do want to talk a little bit about it. Let's wrap. Riff wrap. So, I don't know if it's so much the riff wrap or the Oculus or not, but we keep talking about this Iron Man game. But I was actually just surfing when I was doing some work and everything. I was like, man, do I want to pull that out, or do I need a reason to go buy the Quest 2?
Quest 3.
Or, I'm sorry, the Quest 3. Yeah,
Quest
you're right.
3 is coming out.
Yeah, it's up 3, right. So, what do I want? Well, I that Iron Man game, you told me it's not good.
Yeah. People
don't like it. Everywhere I go, it's getting 4.6, 4.8 out of 5 stars.
I mean...
what is it that's the difference on that? What do you think? I mean, outside the fact that I gotta have to lay on a couch or something like when you take off.
I don't know. I saw some gameplay that just looked bad. It looked buggy.
Really.
I don't know.
Man, it would be so cool to think of it. It makes so much sense to be in a mask like Jarvis, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Seeing everything around you, looking out, and then doing a campaign to where you land and you have to go and shoot tanks or do different stuff. I don't know. I almost feel like I have to go somebody that has it to try it. You know what I mean? Instead of dropping $4 and then and then the $30 for the game, because I think it was $29.99, something like that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
it'd be fun to play it with like the what are they called? The things that like lift you up, like on movie sets, how they have people like flying.
Oh yeah,
They suspend you into the air,
right?
And then you get in your Oculus Quest, and then you play it with that. That'd be fun.
Well, you know me, I'm just gonna lay down like that little coffee table thing that'll hold me, and I'm just gonna like lay right down and just be like flying. Yeah. That would be crazy cool.
Yeah.
when you come walking in and there's your father figure just sprawled out on a coffee table with my Oculus 3.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, oh, my hero, I'm gonna grow up to be just like that.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think the game's gonna be fun.
No. You know. Okay.
You can let me know, but
I will. All right. Okay. What else? That it's time for the deal, right?
Deal of the week.
All right, the deal of the month. So I was trying to look around. You know what's interesting is I remember there was like with the silicon chips, everything going bad. You know, like taking forever to get the 390 or 3090. How expensive and everything is. They had a special on here for just for, I guess it's just for hard drives, right? So I started looking around going, well, how bad is it for everything else out there? And I found, is this a good deal or not? This is a Western Digital. It's an internal drive, right? It's a 2 terabyte NVMe internal gaming SSD solid state drive. So it's got to be that, right? With a heat sink. It works with PlayStation 5. It works with, so you can upgrade that. I didn't know you can even upgrade storage and internal on 5.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, Gen 4 PE, whatever. So long story short is 2 terabytes internal for $125.
That seems really good just because of the fact that it's SSD.
Right.
I think if it was just like a regular hard drive, then might not be worth it.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
SSD is very, very good. It's
very solid, fast.
And 2 terabytes is a lot.
Yeah. So you can get that if you go on and you just go to Amazon or whatever, type in WD, that's Western Digital, right? Black 2 TB, and it should come up. I think the number on it, if you really want it, is SN850X. So take a look at it right now as the time of this recording on the 2nd or 1st. Right, today's the 1st, of August. It's at $125 or $125. So to me, that seems like the deal of the week for sure, or deal of the month for it. So take a look at it and hope that helps. All right. Lastly, is we have new releases. So the new releases for August. I know there's been a few, but what's the main ones that are coming out here?
I'm not sure. I know there's a game called Immortals coming out.
Yeah.
If it had. This month, and I don't know. I haven't. Oh, Baldur's Gate, is Baldur's Gate 3 coming out this month? August.
I think so. That's what it's showing.
And so that Baldur's Gate is probably the biggest one.
Well, Madden's always coming out.
Madden's coming out. There's nothing in this month that I was particularly looking at.
Yeah.
But
there's something called Fort Solis. I don't know what that is. It's like it might be a. It's a mining base or something. So there is something space based game. I just haven't heard of it. But that's coming out as well. Atlas Fallen. That looks more like a combination of Overwatch and Destiny or something.
Yeah.
Right? Combination play as well. Anything else? Bomb Rush, Cyberpunk. No. Here's that Sea of Stars that's coming out. Don't know much about that.
Yeah. Huh.
Under the Waves. It looks like it's like a sea exploration game. That looked kind of cool. Yeah, but not much, right? That's due out on this.
Yeah, August wasn't really a month that I was looking at, so.
Yeah. So, well, we got to look towards the following month. I mean, I guess, we downplay it, but the fact that Madden 24 is out, right, again. And, of course, I'm just so curious, did they actually do anything different or just create the next line? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I did hear is they said the movement is a little more interactive with smarter AI, gives control to play out your gameplay strategy with confidence. So it looks like there's more realistic character movement in it, according to them. What does that mean? I mean, it looked pretty real.
Yeah,
at this stage, but
I don't know what else they're gonna do. I don't know. Madden games are fun, so.
Well, they're gonna have to promote or they figure out a way to promote and separate it, right?
Yeah.
Get people to buy. I mean, I don't know. Do you every year people just buy it because it's the new players, right? I mean, that's the beautiful thing about that. So, anyways, okay. So that's pretty much the new releases as well coming out. Anything else going on we should talk about or bring up?
I don't think so.
No. Is that it? All right, so we'll keep you updated. We'll keep an eye on what's new and important, and something that we'll obviously provide to you if we see anything that's relevant to not only the video game world, but like I said, just recap. If there's something that you find it's fun, especially in the 3D printing world that I'm not aware of, can you send us? How do they get a hold of us?
At joystick_show on Twitter, our website joystickshow.com, our Discord at joystickshow, or Gmail, joystickshow@gmail.com.
joystickshow@gmail.com. Very cool. All right, perfect. All right, folks, until next time, Game on.
Joystick, the Joystick Show.